lot of experts that it was not a landslide. Clearly wasn't. Are we running the risk of Democrats relaxing, saying, well, we didn't get beat by that bad? Or should they be looking at who are we not talking to? Were we not talking about what groceries cost enough? We buy groceries, too, in the black community or Latino community. So which way do you think Democrats are going to read that they were close, but they should relax because they could have won?
Resist we much. I'm going to have to go back over that time and again. The Reverend Al Sharpton this morning on MSDNC. What is that? They pay him 7 figures as a journalist to be literate. The Democrats have corrupted everything. Isn't that amazing? Oh, really? Black people buy groceries too? This just in to the news channel. Aren't they amazing? At least appalling. Yes, sir. CNN this morning, panicking, freaking out about the new CBS News poll numbers showing President Trump very popular, 59% approval rating, and they certainly don't like that. So they brought in Harry Enton, who, is not just a Danish. She's a Danish with lots of clipped hair scattered on top of it. And they just couldn't believe that Trump's poll numbers were so good.
It's not just that they like what Donald Trump is doing right now. They're optimistic for the future. So, again, let's compare ourselves now versus where we were 8 years ago. And what you see 8 years ago, 53% of Americans were scared or concerned, the majority towards the upcoming Trump term. Look at where we are now. The shoe is on the other foot. 53% of Americans are excited or optimistic. It's flip-flop, where a narrow majority 8 years ago were scared or concerned about the upcoming Trump term. Now what we see is that the majority is excited or optimistic about the Trump term. So what we're just seeing is very different numbers from where we were 8 years ago.
Democrats are very angry, though. They like to be angry. When you include the option of angry in the poll questions, lots and lots of Democrats say, oh, yes, I'm very, very angry, because they've got a lot of problems. They're dissatisfied, they're unhappy, they're angry, they disapprove. They're Democrats. And then very often they loot. They have to go looting. They go to Lululemon or Louis Vuitton or one of those places. They might go to the local drugstore just to steal everything they can steal.
You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Very, very angry indeed. It's Marvin the Martian was more fun than the Democrats, however. The Democrats a lot less fun. And there are, I was just talking about the pick for Treasury Secretary, and Jonathan Capehart is very excited because he'll be the highest ranking openly gay. They love to say open. He'll be the highest ranking gay person ever to serve in government. You may remember when Pete Buttigieg was chosen to be Transportation Secretary without portfolio. No reason at all to pick him to be Transportation Secretary or Secretary of anything else. The news media, they considered that the fact that he's gay to be the most important, in fact, the only important thing.
So Pete Buttigieg, if confirmed, would also be the first openly gay member of Mr. Biden's cabinet.
Former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, would be one of the youngest cabinet members since Alexander Hamilton, and the first openly gay cabinet secretary.
Buttigieg would be the first openly gay cabinet secretary in U.S. history.
Yeah, and that's George Snuffleupagus, and they had Andrea Mitchell, and all the news media. He's the first openly gay. And now the headlines, for example, dollar falls after Donald Trump named Scott Bessent to Treasury role. That's the Financial Times. And they got Barron's. Dollar falls after Treasury Secretary announcement. I was reading the CBS News story on him before because the headline is, I thought, kind of interesting. Who is Scott Bessent? What you need to know about Trump's Treasury Secretary. And I think you have to get to paragraph 18 or so after going through category after category, when they finally say that in his personal life, he lives in South Carolina with his husband. And that's the first mention. If you do a Google search for gay, it doesn't come up in that story, at least. Isn't that amazing? But now, totally different. However, the worm is turning, if you will, because Bloomberg writes, stocks, bonds rise as traders cheer Treasury pick. Markets rep. And also quartz. The Dow soars 450 points, and the dollar falls after Trump picks Scott Bessent. Stocks join bonds higher on Trump Treasury pick. That's the Yahoo Finance, and on and on. Also, I was doing a little search there, and the ruble, the Russian ruble, fell dramatically last week. Now the ruble is worth less than 1 penny, 1 cent. That's the Russian dollar, the Russian currency. Now more than 100 rubles to the dollar, to the American dollar. That's not very good for them. It's going to make it harder to wage war, which is why they have like mail-order mercenaries with the Yemenis coming in. And the Yemenis going to Russia don't even know that they're going there to be mercenaries. They just, they're handed a rifle and some boots, and they throw them into the Destructo machine, because that's commies, and how commies are. You do know how commies are, don't you? Also, Axios, the left-wing Axios, assesses Trump cabinet as, quote, liberal, end quote, and, quote, united, end quote. You always got to look out when they put one word in quotation marks. By MAGA, the most ideologically diverse cabinet of modern times. Now, that is in the headline, and it's in quotation marks, too, the most ideologically diverse cabinet of modern times. And it's true, you have former Democrat Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. You have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. of the Democrat Kennedy family. You have a lot of former Democrats, including Donald Trump, to name one. You've got Elon Musk, who doesn't have an official cabinet post. Why would he? He's the richest man in the world. But he's working with the administration. He was a he was a Democrat until about 20 minutes ago. So President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet was described as both liberal and perhaps the most ideologically diverse cabinet of modern times by Axios on Saturday morning, while some of Trump's far-right nominees have sent many of his strongest critics into making frenzied claims that Trump will weaponize the government against them. The government has been weaponized against Donald Trump and against his friends and allies, many of whom have actually been sent to prison for doing things that Hunter Biden does again and again. And I'm not talking about cocaine and hookers from Russia and taking money from foreign interests and not adhering to the FARA Act. But never mind that, just a few of Hunter Biden's crimes. So Mike Allen and Jim Vandehey in Axios, they're the ones who are writing the piece, saying, gosh, Trump's cabinet might be described as liberal, but it's also the most ideologically diverse cabinet in modern times, since he's got former Democrat Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, and he's got RFK Jr. going in a cabinet post from the Democrat Kennedy family. The Saturday Report, the pair, Vandehey and Mike Allen, they honestly, the pair noted that Trump's government now includes a pro-abortion environmentalist, that's RFK Jr., a pro-union Republican congresswoman, not sure which one that is, former George Soros advisor, who is, as gay as the day is long, and all that stuff, and a 2020 Democratic presidential candidate turned Republican, RFK again. Those picks are RFK Jr., Lori Chavez DeRemer, and Tulsi Gabbard, and Scott Bessent. So the people at the left-wing Axios, they're saying, wow, wait a minute, what can we say about this? It's very confusing. It's disorienting for them. And really, again, it needs to be said again and again, the most important place to bring diversity is in ideology, not in genitalia or sexual orientation or race or melanin levels or ethnicity, but ideology is the most important when we're talking about politics and political leadership. So the left-wingers at Axios, they say, lost in the noise of Trump's most controversial picks is the simple, undebatable fact that this might be the most ideologically diverse cabinet of modern times. As Axios' Zachary Basu told you of Axios, Trump's cabinet increasingly resembles a European-style coalition government. They're very envious of Europe without any explanation for that. Staffed with a dizzying array of ideological rivals united, for now, by a grand MAGA vision. United by MAGA. Democrats, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., former Democrat Elon Musk, former Democrat Donald Trump. But never mind any of that. And I think I told you last week that when my friends at Newsmax sent along this picture of Donald Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., and Elon Musk saying, hey, look, 4 former Democrats, I sent back a picture of myself shaking hands with Ronald Reagan and having a good laugh while he was president, and said, 2 more former Democrats. Because Ronald Reagan, of course, a former Democrat, and myself, I'm ashamed of it, but I have to say it out loud every now and then, former Democrat. So the people at Axios, they write that at the grand vision, MAGA vision, between the lines, it's Trump's team of ideological rivals. Remember, they all wrote about team of rivals when Barack Obama lied that he was going to have an ideologically diverse cabinet, and then he didn't. Oh, the team of rivals, Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln had a Democrat vice president, right? And then a Democrat killed Abraham Lincoln so that the Democrat became president. So a Republican has not had a Democrat vice president again since then. See what I'm saying? So the team represents the Trump worldview. Traditional conservatism is dead, and its biggest lifelong advocate neutered to the point of irrelevance. That's what they're writing at Axios over the weekend here. The Democrat Party and Axios is saying irrelevant. Isn't that fascinating? Womp, womp, womp. Pretty good stuff. Now, I've got a lot to get to about the border because our southern border is still a complete mess. And, over the weekend, video surfaced that could have surfaced every single day for the last 4 years of a 2-year-old girl who was dumped at our southern border by people that would call themselves her parents. And they just dumped with a Post-it note. And here, go find something to do in America. Amazing. Now let's grab a phone call. Let's go to Dan calling from North Potomac, Maryland. Daniel, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
How you doing, Chris? Thanks for taking my call.
You betcha.
I laugh every time I get to listen to you. I get a great laugh. You're as funny as hell.
Well, thank you.
Anyhow, I want to tell you that whoever told Axios, whatever economist told them, which I doubt any economist told them, is that this morning, I track this every day. The dollar is now higher in value than the euro. 6 weeks ago, the euro was 11% higher than the dollar. It is not now. And the 10-year is down this morning. It's been down for 2 days in a row.
Fascinating.
Friday and today. So that's all a big lie from these idiots. And these economists, I probably don't even look at any of this. You can find it on the Wall Street Journal, under markets.
It is amazing, isn't it? And it sounds like you don't trust the news media.
No kidding. I don't trust any of them. I watch The Morning Joe once in a while just to get a good laugh.
Yeah.
When I can't hear you. Okay.
Yeah, and I got to say, I pretty much stopped turning them on in the morning. They're so completely insane and so irrelevant, and they really are mentally ill. We played a bit of them last week, but I didn't actually watch the show myself. The internet pops this stuff up. But listen, Dan, I'm glad that you called in because you're right. These economists, Barron's finds an economist. Dollar falls compared to what? And then you start having this discussion. We all have to be our own fact checkers today because the fact checkers are fake. They're liars. They're Democrats. They're frauds. They have no reputation to defend. It is remarkable to see. Daniel, thank you very much. Have a great North Potomac, Maryland day. We're supposed to get a little weather the next couple of days here, allegedly. But I think it's just rainy, not snowy. We'll see. Maybe some of this, some of that. We'll see. Thank you, Daniel. Nothing delivers comfort and joy. You know the holidays are coming. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. And this year you can skip the holiday hassle and all the craziness and save 50% off the entire website for Omaha Steaks during their site-wide cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, in addition to that, you're going to get a $30 reward card when you shop early because you're shopping early. Listen to this. And score another $30 off with the promo code PLANT because you hang out with me. Let's start doing the math on that. There's $30, then $30 off, then 50% off. Come on, you can't afford to not go to Omaha Steaks. Growing up in Chicago, I always envied my neighbors when their boxes of Omaha Steaks arrived. I'm like, Omaha Steaks. Now I have them delivered to my house. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and a whole lot more. You get to save 50% off site-wide during the cyber sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get another $30 off with the promo code PLANTE, P-L-A-N-T-E, and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and a $30 off with the promo code PLANT. Come on, you can thank me later. A minimum purchase may apply. Visit omahasteaks.com for details. Yeah, that's a great stuff. The border coming up. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Bam, 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 bam. A headline front page of the Metro section today. Family of man found in river looks for answers. 22-year-old's body is 11th to be pulled from D.C. waterways this year. And that's pretty crazy. It's an awful story. The father of Felix Casarubias waiting for his son. His son working at a very, very fancy restaurant on the waterfront in Georgetown called Fiola Mare. He disappeared. And then he was found floating in the river. Jeffet Casarubias Peña, 22 years old, found floating in the river. 11 this year in Washington, D.C., floating. That's just floating in the river. Michael said, well, how many last year? He's very competitive. He always wants to measure against last year, a statistics guy, you know. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Ah, yes. There is a possible peace deal between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon that may be brokered tomorrow. Benjamin Netanyahu is the prime minister of Israel, and he is in talks with Hezbollah, the army of Allah, funded by the Ayatollahs in Tehran, you know, the Islamic Revolution, all that stuff. But in the meantime, Hezbollah fired, what did they fire? 340 missiles into Israel, 340 rockets and missiles into Israel while they're talking peace, which means that Israel has no choice but to drop bombs on their asses because, you know, they're radical Islamic genocidal terrorists who are racists, and Israel has no choice. They're surrounded by these people, and the Democrat Party is no friend of the state of Israel, that's for sure. But Lebanon, Hezbollah launches huge 340 rocket salvo at Israel. Middle East Eye has the story. And Israeli military officials said air defenses had intercepted a number of projectiles and that 11 people were wounded in the attack. Now, the Democrats never talk about this, and that means the media, but the reason that Israel has Iron Dome and they've got another missile defense system too all goes back to Ronald Wilson Reagan, President of the United States, declaring we needed to develop missile defenses. And we went from really not much capability when it comes to missile defense to a great deal of capability. And Israel has refined and improved on the missile defense systems that we were able to provide them because they've got a very real-world environment. And so they've been very good at advancing that technology, improving that technology. But Hezbollah, while they're talking peace, they're naturally trying to kill all the Jews and they're getting their butts kicked. So now they want a peace deal. And getting Hezbollah to back off will be good news for Israel because then they can focus their attentions on destroying Hamas, a genocidal death cult living on their flank with more than 25 miles of Mediterranean seafront property. It should be Monaco, but instead they're gargling in the blood of innocents. Oh, by the way, they announced last night that they had murdered another Israeli hostage that they've been holding all this time. And they said, oh, yeah, one more died. They didn't say they murdered the Israeli hostage, but obviously they did. Isn't that amazing? And after the 340 rockets fired into Israel, IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, conducts Beirut strikes despite ceasefire push. That's ABC fake news. I wouldn't say despite. That's what brings them to the table. That if you don't cease fire, we will kill you all. Because your goal is obviously to kill all of us. You savages. You pig dogs. That's a little German thing, Schweinhund. Schweinhund! You're the pig dogs. Yeah, and in the meantime, Houthis in Yemen are being tricked into going to Russia for jobs and cash payments, $10,000 plus $2,000 a month. But they get there and they're handed a rifle and a Russian military uniform and thrown into combat against the Ukrainians. That's not very good. Not at all. All right, now let's get to the border here. I pulled the story this morning from a few weeks ago now. Actually, I guess it's months ago. It's a couple of months ago. It's August 21st. Biden-Harris administration loses track of 320,000 migrant children. They care very deeply about the children and the migrants, right? Except that's just a lie. Two lies that the Democrats tell you. With untold numbers of at risk of sex trafficking and forced labor. And they've found these children scattered all over the place in factories. And honestly, if you've got children that are illegal aliens in factories, this is today's slavery. And one of the items that I pulled today was indentured servitude, because the Democrats actually view these illegal aliens and children as cheap labor, which is what slavery was, and the Democrat Party was the party of slavery and the Confederate States of America. Now listen to this. I just went to the Wikipedia definition. Indentured servitude is a form of labor in which a person is contracted to work without salary for a specific number of years. The contract is called an indenture, may be entered into voluntarily for a prepaid lump sum, like we will get you into the United States of America, and then you work for me for free for the next year at my cousin's place, right? As payment for some good or service, e.g. travel. There it is. So the cartels, they move people into the United States, and then you owe them until they say that you don't owe them anymore. And they keep coming to you for whatever bits of money you earn. So indentured servitude may be entered into voluntarily, and that's the case with the cartels. All right, I'll owe you $9,000 to get me into the United States, right? And what about my little daughter who's 2 years old? $9,000 for your little daughter who's 2 years old. So in exchange for a good or a service, e.g. travel, purported eventual compensation or debt repayment, an indenture, that is an indentured service, may also be imposed involuntarily as a judicial punishment. That was mostly centuries ago. Practice has been compared to similar institution to slavery, although there are differences. Now, indentured servitude is what an awful lot of illegal aliens have entered into, either voluntarily or involuntarily. And the Democrats like it, and they'll tell you. We've played the audio here again and again of Democrat members of Congress and Democrat media people saying, well, who do you think's cleaning the dishes in the back of the restaurants you go to? Who do you think's cutting your lawn? I don't actually have a lawn to be cut, but and they tell you, oh, and you're supposed to say, oh, yeah, oh, good, cheap labor. And they're being exploited by criminal cartels in Mexico, and all that's great. All right, now with that, let's go to soundbite number 1, because this just surfaced, and it's quite striking, I've got to say. There's video that was shot by the Texas State Police Department of Public Safety, DPS, in the state of Texas. And it's quite remarkable, the video. They're talking to a group of children, little children, including this 2-year-old girl who says she's dos años. So they're talking to this little 2-year-old girl, right? And say, well, where are your parents? My parents are in Los Estados Unidos, right? And she just walked across our southern border from Mexico, says that her parents are already in Los Estados Unidos in the United States. How old are you? I'm años, dos años. The little girl holds up her fingers, 2 fingers, says she's dos años, 2 years old, and she's just dumped there, and she's got a note in her hand that if she drops it, it's all gone. The note has 1 name and 1 phone number on it. And it's like, here, American government, figure it out. Marry up this 2-year-old girl with her alleged parents or whoever's name is on the note. And who knows whether the people whose name, phone number on the note, whether they're child traffickers, human traffickers, who knows what they are. But here's the video from the Department of Public Safety, State Police in the great state of Texas, the Republic of Texas, and the Texas law enforcement official making the video is kind of flabbergasted by what he's witnessing. But the thing is, they see this every day. They see it all day, every day. In fact, there's a passel of kids there that you couldn't fit onto an airplane.
Venezuela, mamá. Venezuela. ¿Sí? ¿Qué tantos años tienes? ¿Dos años? ¿No vienes con tu mamá y tu papá? ¿No?
Where's your mama, papa?
Venezuela. ¿Para dónde vas, mamá?
Where's mama?
¿Dónde están? Estados Unidos?
Los Estados Unidos. The little girl, 2 years old. She holds up 2 fingers. I'm holding up to my index and middle finger. She holds up 2 fingers. You know, how old are you? I'm dos años. Dos. And she's 2 years old. And she's sitting there and she's cute as a little button. And she's just been dumped on our southern border by some criminals who left her with a piece of paper. The piece of paper has 1 phone number and 1 name on it. And here, United States, you sort it out. You figure it out. And there is another caravan headed our way, 1,500 or so illegal aliens headed our way. And if you ask them, and they've been asked, Newsmax has asked them, well, we want to get there before Donald Trump is inaugurated, because if we get there before then, we know we got a better chance of being illegal aliens in the United States of America. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. So there's the little 2-year-old girl in that video is rightly making the rounds, because what is up with this whole thing that the Democrats, the Democrats are as responsible for this as the cartels are. And that's no joke, as Joe Biden would say. Remarkable stuff. All right, so Brandon Judd, you may remember Brandon Judd. He was the president of the National Border Patrol Council. He is now the former president of the National Border Patrol Council, but his pals are still Border Patrol people and stuff. And Brandon Judd was this morning on the Fox News channel talking about this little girl and the video that has surfaced of the 2-year-old, dos años, and where are your parents? Los Estados Unidos. And now she has just set foot into Los Estados Unidos, the United States, and she's got a little Post-it note saying, apparently help me find this person so that I'm not standing here in the desert with coyotes, bipedal and quadrupedal, circling around her. Brandon Judd.
It really makes every single Border Patrol agent very upset. Every single time we see this, we have to process these individuals. We recognize and understand that the vast majority of them are abused on their way up here. And then on top of it, when we process them and release them, we don't even know that we're sending them to the right place. We don't know that HHS is going to do the right thing by these individuals and make sure that they get to where they're supposed to be going.
Where they're supposed to be going. It's up to us, right? Mm-hmm. In the meantime, one of the discussions being had now is Vladimir Putin and nuclear weapons being used against Ukraine, and World War III, and NATO, because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been leading our country, I'm making quotation marks with my fingers, for the last 4 years. Isn't that amazing? And our border is still wide open, and the cartels love the Biden Democrats. Amazing stuff. And so Brandon Judd, now former president, National Border Patrol Council, this morning on what the people he knows and worked with his entire adult life are dealing with every day.
Every single time that we see this, it really makes us mad at this administration because this is policy. It's simple things that can be done to ensure that these children are protected. But this administration, because they care more about their base of support, they don't do what's right by these children, and they don't do what's right by the American people.
Well, and again, they have misplaced more than 300,000 children, and that is not even a news story. That is because Democrats lost 300,000 children. It's like, have you looked under the refrigerator? They might have rolled under the refrigerator. They could be under there. Brandon Judd is having none of it.
We know that President Trump is going to do a good job. We already have that history. The border is going to become secure under President Trump. You're not going to see these people crossing the border illegally. All of these people come because of the magnet of catch and release. If they know that they're not going to be released, they're going to stop coming. So that's where you start, and we know that President Trump is going to do a good job.
Right, and we have a history of 4 years of the Trump administration and then 4 years of the Biden Democrats trying to destroy the country and make it unrecognizable, which is their stated goal. Just look at Barack Obama. Amazing stuff. So Brandon Judd, good man. Now let's go. There is a good woman by the name of Tara Rhodes. Tara Rhodes with HHS is now an Health and Human Services whistleblower because they were asking the people in the federal government, hey, we've got a lot of illegals at the border. We're going to need more manpower down there. Would you volunteer to go down and help the children? It's always about the children, isn't it? And Planned Parenthood. It's the children and Planned Parenthood. But here's HHS whistleblower, seems to be a very nice lady, Tara Rhodes, on what she experienced when she went down to help when her government called her.
I thought I was going to be doing puzzles and playing games with the kids. The children were telling us that they did not know who they were going to, or worse, that they were actually lured here and that they were told, hey, if you come to the United States, out of the goodness of my heart, I'm going to pay your journey, but you've got to stay with me and you have to work off your debt until your debt is paid. And of course, the children are never able to get out of debt bondage.
Indentured servitude, tantamount to slavery in the 21st century, and the Democrats are all about it. Boy, are they all about it. Tom Homan, who is the incoming border czar under President Trump, is having none of it as well.
What's happened to our southern border is the biggest national security vulnerability this country's seen since 9/11. We know terrorists have crossed that border. Just take Tren de Agua, for example. They're a threat to our national security. The cartels of Mexico have killed 250,000 Americans with fentanyl. We have a lot of dangerous people in this country. We need to find and remove them because they directly pose the biggest national security threat to this country right now. And even Christopher Wray, who I have zero respect in, even he's testified numerous times, this is a huge national security threat.
Huge national security threat. We got people coming in from the Middle East and from Africa, from communist China by the tens of thousands. From communist China. What could go wrong there? Amazing stuff. The Democrats. This is the Democrat Party. I'm beginning to think they're not on our side.
Military troops in the street to, grab the woman who waits on you at the diner, pick up the guy who's, mowing the grass in the neighbor's yard.
She called a man he, and that can't be allowed. Before we get to that, let's go to number 8. Great Congressman Byron Donalds from Florida, talking about the illegal aliens at our border, the open border, and and mass deportations, which we, the American people, are overwhelmingly in favor of.
Democrat politicians have had a Marie Antoinette view of America for quite some time. And if they decide that they're going to oppose deportations that 57% of the American people want to see enacted, then they're going to have more political losses in the future.
I found one CBS poll said 62% of us favor mass deportations when asked Byron Donalds.
President Trump and his team are going to deport illegal immigrants out of the United States. That is the right thing to do. That's what the American people want to see happen.
And it is what we shall see happen. Senator Rand Paul is talking about the mayor of Denver. Mayor of Denver is saying he's going to put up a fight against deportations because he wants more illegal alien gang members from Venezuela there. Rand Paul has some thoughts on that.
I would say that the mayor of Denver, if he's going to resist federal law, which there's a long-standing history of the supremacy of federal law, if he's going to resist that, it will go all the way to the Supreme Court. And I would suspect that he would be removed from office.
I'd be removed from office. That'd be really great. He's saying, the mayor of Denver, Democrat, there will be a Tiananmen Square moment. You're going to massacre everybody, you lunatics? All right, now let's get to this wonderful. The headline is Fox News host misgenders trans congresswoman. Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride in interview with Nancy Mace. Congresswoman Nancy Mace, Rachel Campos Duffy.
For the record, that trans member of Congress has said that he will actually abide by the rules and not use the women's restroom. He will. And that's got them all upset. They got their panties in a wedge at Mediaite and beyond. Oh, no, Rachel Campos Duffy, who has 9 children, said he about a man.